Today we are one day closer to the National, and I'm answering another one of the top questions, sometimes a ridiculed or maligned question, but an important one nonetheless. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the most passionate content for card collectors on YouTube and possibly the whole entire internet. As usual, I am your host, Jake Roy, 90s b-ball cards here, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, a little bit of Twitter, X, and you know the deal with TikTok and with Threads. So yes, today we're going to go into my top 5 shoes for comfort shoes at the National. These are the top 5 that I have worn. We will also talk about some other ones. I always do the honorable mentions, but this is one of those conversations that a lot of people kind of will make reference to. Yes, wear comfortable clothes, and they'll roll their eyes and, move on to the next. It is an endurance event, the National. And if you're going there hunting for cards, you're going to be pounding the pavement, you're going to be on your feet a lot, and you're only going to be able to perform as well as the tools that you've brought with you, and the footwear is critical. So I have made some missteps with the shoes I've worn. I have gotten some very good pairs also. So we're going to talk all about that and ones that might be good options as well. So this is the time and the place to have this conversation. And I am also very eager to hear some of the comments down in the comments of shoes that you've worn that are very comfortable for you. So when you go to the National, you're going to see plenty of people wearing Crocs, Air Jordan 1s, Nike Dunks, Air Force 1s. There's tons of shoes like that. This is probably not the best time to bring your Chuck Taylor Converse All-Stars out. While those might be comfortable if you're walking around doing your daily errands or tasks or whatever, the National is a different animal altogether, and you want some cushioning. You want something that's going to be comfortable and soft and supportive for your feet. So let's get right into that list. Alright, starting off at the bottom of the list, so number 5 on the list for me are going to be the Nike Pegasus 37s. Now this is a line that has a lot of numbers indicating each of the model years. I think we're up to 41 now at this point, so this is not the newest one. I wore these back in 2022, if I remember correctly, for the Atlantic City National. These came out, I think, the summer of 2020, so right around the pandemic, and these were not great. They're a great running shoe. They're a great daily runner. I use them when I'm going on long walks and runs and such. But for the National, they weren't the greatest. This is the cushioning on this is React X, which is something that Nike has played with. This is when they really started playing with it, and it also has a 4-foot top-loaded air zoom unit for all the shoe nerds like myself out there. This is one of those, it is a very squishy shoe, but as you are standing, if you're at a dealer booth, if you are looking through dollar cards, your shoe is just going to kind of collapse, right? So your foot is just going to compress into the foam, which is what it's meant to do. But when you're not doing quick striking, quick movements, you're just going to start feeling the floor a little bit every single day. And then that top-loaded air zoom unit in the 4-foot makes you, when you start to move again, feel like you're kind of almost having to climb up a hill, right? So it gives you a little bit more cushioning there, and that React X is going to just, your heel is going to sink right into it. So this is one that I don't recommend. It's not the most breathable shoe. It wasn't comfortable after a whole day of being on the floor. So it's number 5 just because there are only 5 shoes that I've actually worn at the National. Number 4, we're going to go with the Adidas Yeezy. This is going to be the Boost 350 V2 Mono Ice. So the colorway is important in this because there are some nuances and some difference. So the Boost technology is great. This is not the largest stack of Boost, and the top is made up of kind of like a plastic mesh, which one of the reasons why I liked it. Not only did I think it looked nice, but it also offered a ton of breathability, which is true. My feet did stay cool, but it wasn't the most cushioned shoe that I'd ever worn. So it wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it was just kind of the middle of the road. And you will see a lot of Yeezys, I'm sure, every single year, even this year. So I wore these back in 2022, so before the character is who the character is now. They came out in the summer of 2021, so they're about a year old when I got them. You know, it's something I still wear, you know, when I'm running errands and stuff, but for the National, it was just okay. It wasn't the greatest, it wasn't the worst, and you will see other people that will say that, you know, these and other colorways are really good for the National, but it was middle of the road for me. Number 3, so middle point of the list, another one from Adidas Yeezy Boost 350 V2, the compact. So this one is a little bit more like a sock. It's a little bit more like a sweater sock. So it's a woven material, so this added a little bit of additional cushioning to the regular V2s, 350 V2s I should say. So they're kind of that sock lining gave you a little bit more of cushioning underneath. It also kind of give you a little bit of compression on your foot, which can be nice. It's not like a really firm hug, but it is like a little bit of a gentle hug, and there's some padding on the top as well. So these are really easy to slip right on. They were really comfortable. They were not very breathable, so my foot did get a little bit hot, so this was one that I wore on one of the more cool days, but it is still very hot on that showroom floor. So again, I wore these, I think these were ones that I wore in 2023, so the last time I was in Chicago, if I remember correctly, and it was very hot. The air circulation there was not very good. You know, so this one was okay. They ship really well, right? They package in your luggage, which is the whole point of the compact thing. You can fold them right down and squish them in there, so that's nice. But it was, you know, it was okay. It was an okay shoe. I enjoyed it, but I did find that over the years I've worn them a bunch, and that boost technology does start to zero out because it's not the thickest of boost stacks that Adidas offers. Number 2 on the list is going to be the Adidas Ultra Boost 22. This one is a very comfortable shoe, easy to slide your foot right on. It is a pretty compressed fit. They have a ton of different colorways. You can still find them if you look on StockX and other places online for the resale. Most of the colorways are fairly affordable. You're not going to have to pay retail right now, last I checked, but sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to get it in your size. But anyway, I wore these in, I want to say 2023 as well, so the same Chicago National. They came out in, I think, the fall of 2022. Yeah, just a really good shoe. I know that they were made to be a little bit of a better running shoe. From my understanding, it didn't turn out to be a great running shoe. It's more of a casual shoe or a walking shoe, which I think is great for the National. It gives you firm cushioning. It gives you a double stack in the heel of the Boost technology and a pretty thick forefoot of the Boost, so it gives you that firm boost that's going to support your foot, give you good energy return as you're walking around. Your foot's not going to sink all the way to the floor. It's going to have some stability, but it's also going to give you that kind of cloud-like cushion. So it's overall a very good and comfortable shoe for the National, walking around on that pavement, standing at tables, moving around. I feel like once I get those shoes off, I don't feel like I walked the whole day on concrete. Alright, before we get to the number 1 on the list, I'm going to give some honorable mentions. These are ones that I've heard from other people are comfortable, or ones that I'm excited and looking forward to trying out in the future at the next National. So the first one I'm going to say is On Cloud. You'll see a lot of people wearing these shoes. The On Cloud 6 is a very popular model. There's a lot of different variations, colors. You know, you're probably going to see a lot of dark colors. But that's very popular. I haven't worn them personally, but I've heard really good things. So that's one to check out. You maybe try it on in a store if you can get into a store and try them on and see how they fit, and then go from there. The next one is going to be New Balance. You're going to see a lot of different New Balance models for sure. I know this is a favorite for a lot of people. It's considered kind of a dad shoe that's gotten a little bit more in vogue recently. So you're going to find a lot of different models, and there's a ton. Just to name a few, there is the 574, which is the classic one. There's the 327, which is kind of like a throwback to a classic, but it's a more modern silhouette. The 990s, the 9060s. These are all ones that you're going to see. You might be a little bit more familiar with some of them than others. Some of them you might even have. These are pretty accessible, a lot of colors, a lot of availability, shouldn't be expensive, and they're pretty durable as well, so those are pretty popular as well. Hokas are another one. I have heard a lot of good things. These are very thick stack, cushioned. The Bondi and Clifton are two models I hear a lot of people enjoy. You know, if you go to ER, you're going to see a lot of nurses and doctors wearing these. These are considered a highly comfortable shoe. That's gotten very popular in recent years, and you'll see quite a few of those at the National, I'm sure. So it might be one worth checking out. Not sure the availability and all that kind of stuff, but it's a popular one if you like a max cushion high stack. One I'm looking forward to trying out soon is going to be the Nike Zoom X Invincible Run 3. So another Nike, hasn't ranked well on my list in the past, but this one has a full length high stack of, I believe it's Zoom X, Max Zoom X, and this is also on a platform that's a little bit wider. So the Pegasus is a pretty narrow shoe in my example here for the 37. This one has a wider forefoot, a wider stack in the heel to give some more stability, something I'm looking forward to. I have worn it, you know, walking around town, and it is very comfortable, so it will be interesting to see how that translates to the pavement at the National. Another Nike that I'm looking forward to trying out soon is the Nike Air Zoom Pegasus Premium. So this is one that has recently released. I think it released sometime in the last 3 or 4 months. So this has a heavy stack. It has 3 different technologies from Nike. So it has their Zoom X, which we just talked about. It has their Air Zoom unit that goes the whole length of the shoe, is really the visual point. And then it also has React X, which is going to be soft and squishy, but a little bit more durable than the Zoom X. That is also the same type of cushioning that we talked about in a different application for the Pegasus 37. So this is one that I'm a little bit wary of. I haven't worn it yet, of it being a little bit narrow. I have heard it has great breathability, great ventilation. I have heard that there is some issues with it being a little bit narrow kind of in the midfoot, which is a little bit different with the Pegasus 37 that I tried, where it was the forefoot that was pretty narrow for me and caused some issues. So hopefully with that Zoom airbag, we'll see some improved cushioning and comfort, but that's one that I'm excited to try out, and I've heard good things about people walking around with those, but it has not been tried out at the National because it is a new shoe, so you might see some of those on the floor, not really sure. It is pretty pricey. They are pretty difficult to get your hands on, but next year I plan to try some out. The last honorable mention, this might be a little bit of a surprise. This is a basketball shoe rather than a walking running shoe, but the Adidas Harden Volume 8. I've heard a ton of really good things about these as a basketball shoe. Some people really like the look of them as well off the court. These do have the boost technology like we've talked about with some of the other Adidas shoes on the list. So this is one that I've heard a lot of people say has a lot of great comfort for casual wear. I wouldn't be surprised to see some. They're not probably going to be the most popular, but it is one if you really like the comfort of a basketball shoe, if you like the fit of a basketball shoe and you want a little bit more structure on the side, this might be a good one to try out. You probably will see a few. The black and white colorway has gotten pretty popular, but not as popular as some of the other shoes that we've mentioned on the list. So those are your honorable mentions. Number 1 on the list for me is going to be the Adidas Ultra Boost 21. So this is one that I wore back in 2021. I believe it came out in 2020, and this is the most comfortable one that I have found. It is a little bit softer than the 22s, which were a newer version, but it still gives you all the same support, all the same cushioning. It is not too soft. It is just slightly softer, and it's not quite as firm as the 22. So if you like a more firm ride, the 22 might be better for you, but the 21 is great for me. It is one that as it gets older, it might bottom out a little bit, so that's something I have to watch out for, but it is something that I might get a new pair and see if age has not been too bad for those if they're new and unworn. So that's the number 1 on my list. That's one that I'm going to bring year after year. So I've talked about a couple that I'm going to bring with me the next time to try out, but this is going to be in my bag as well. I'll probably bring 3 different pairs just in case something gets wet or whatever. It's always nice to have an extra pair of shoes, and this is a classic go-to for me that I can't go wrong with. So those are the top 5 plus some honorable mentions and some ones to note that probably are going to be popular but might not be the best ones. So let me know down in the comments what are some ones that you have found are really comfortable for you. Maybe it's one that I mentioned on the list, maybe it's one that I forgot and I left off, and let me know if you have any thoughts on any of the ones that I've ranked here on the list. Maybe you think that something I ranked was too low, too high. Love to hear your thoughts on this. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any videos in the future. New videos dropping once or so per week. We've got looks into my PC, occasional collector interviews, occasional grading reveals, occasional show reviews, pack openings, sometimes even some shoe reviews. So that's what we get. Yeah, that's what we've got. Thanks. We'll talk later.